If the Buffalo Bills had no problem opening the wallet for Khalil Shakir, why are they dragging their feet with James Cook? That's the question a lot of Bills fans have been asking lately. And honestly, it's a fair one, because on the surface, you see one guy producing at a high level, being arguably the engine of your run game, and then you see another with solid numbers and nice fit in the system, but not necessarily the centerpiece of the offense. Yeah, and one just got a fresh contract, and the other is holding in trying to force the team's hand. But here's the reality. This situation is way more layered than just comparing yards and touchdowns. This isn't Madden. This is about how the NFL values different positions. It's about cap strategy, long-term roster building, and understanding how front offices play chess, not checkers. So let's break this down. Khalil Shakir recently inked a deal worth about $13.25 million per year. Not 15, like some folks were throwing around. That number places him outside the top 25 highest paid wide receivers. Now, on paper, sure, 821 yards and 4 touchdowns doesn't scream break the bank. But here's where context matters. Wide receivers get paid, like really paid. The top guy at that position is making $40 million per year. That's double the salary of the top paid running back. Let me repeat that. Double. $20 million for the best running back in the league versus $40 million for the top wide receiver. That's not a slight to running backs. It's just how the economics of the league have evolved. Running backs are seen as more interchangeable, less essential in a pass-heavy NFL. And teams are hesitant to hand out massive second contracts to backs because of durability and longevity concerns. Now James Cook, who racked up over 1,200 total yards and found the end zone 18 times last season. That's production, no doubt about it. He was electric at times. But if he's asking for $15 million a year, that would make him the third highest paid running back in the league. He'd be right up there with Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and Saquon Barkley. And as much as I love James Cook's game, and I truly do, you've got to ask yourself, is he really in that tier? Because those guys don't just produce, they carry their offenses. They've been consistent workhorses year after year, often with very little help. Can Cook get there? Maybe. But so far he's shown flashes, not a full season of domination. And remember, running backs, even very good ones, don't always see a second deal like wide receivers do. It's harsh, but it's the market. The position is just devalued. And here's where things get tricky. Some fans point to games last season where the Bills' offense sputtered without Shakir. They bring up the Houston game, where the passing game looked completely lost. One of the worst outings we've seen from Josh Allen since he became elite. Then you look at the offense team without James Cook, like in that Jets game, and the run game still hummed along just fine. So that leads to the argument that maybe, just maybe, Shakir is more vital to this system than Cook. Now that's debatable, but it does put into perspective why the front office may feel comfortable paying one and not rushing to overpay the other. And then there's the matter of the hold-in. This is the new trend in the NFL. Players show up to camp, but they don't participate in practices. Why? Because if you don't show up, you're fined $50,000 a day. That's no joke. So instead, you're present, technically, not violating any rules, but you're sending a message. It's all business. You want your deal, but you're not burning money in the process. James Cook is making a move, trying to put some pressure on the Bills front office. But here's the thing. The team holds all the leverage. Cook is still on his rookie contract. If he really sat out games, he'd lose real paychecks. That's not likely. What's more likely is that he's hoping to strike now, coming off a productive season before anything changes, before injuries happen or the offense shifts again. But Buffalo, they're not in a panic. They know how the market works. They've seen what happens when you overinvest in the wrong positions. They've learned from past contracts. So for now, it's a standoff. And unless Cook's camp brings the number down into a more reasonable range, maybe 10 or 11 million per year, it's hard to see the Bills blinking first. Now, switching gears for a second, this roster is not just about Cook and Shakir. One of the more fascinating dynamics heading into this season is the development of Keon Coleman. A lot of fans were excited when the Bills drafted him. Big body highlight reel catches and a type of X-receiver the team's been missing. But if you go back to the scouting reports, you'll find a common critique: inconsistency. This is a guy who had arguably the best highlight tape in the entire draft class. We're talking jaw-dropping catches in tight windows. But the problem? He doesn't consistently separate. He's not one of those twitchy, sudden route runners who are always open. And when you can't separate consistently in the NFL, it means every catch is contested. Every route is a battle. That leads to more variance. One week, he might look like a monster, and the next he might disappear. So it becomes about how the Bills use him. You're not going to ask him to be Stefon Diggs. That's not his game. But can he find space in zone? Can he learn how to use his body better against man coverage? Can he develop his football IQ enough to maximize his traits? That's the challenge. For Joe Brady and Josh Allen, take the raw tools and mold them into something reliable because the Bills wanted this skill set. Allen reportedly pounded the table for him. The front office made it a priority to get that big outside target. So now they've got to make it work. Coleman doesn't have to be elite right away, but he does need to be a threat. Because if defenses aren't respecting him, everything else gets harder. And speaking of pressure, let's talk about the Bills' defense. There is no excuse for this unit not to be elite. They've invested heavily. First-round picks everywhere, top free agent dollars, and a coaching staff. Stacked with talent. You've got Sean McDermott, Bobby Babich, Ryan Nielsen. The brain trust is legit. This defense should be hovering around top 10 rankings in almost every major category. EPA, points allowed, takeaways, sacks, all of it. Now, the one area where fans have questioned things is the pass rush. Everyone remembers that stretch. 9 games with Von Miller looking like the guy who could take the unit over the top. But since the injury, the 4-man rush hasn't delivered consistently. And that's where things get interesting, because McDermott is starting to experiment with more 5-man pressures. That's not something he's been known for. The Bills have typically relied on disciplined zone coverage and hoping the front 4 gets home. But now, they're mixing it up. And that could be the edge they need, especially when going up against guys like Tua, Lamar, or even the young QBs in the division like Drake May. Sure, against someone like Patrick Mahomes, you've got to be careful. Blitz him and he'll burn you. But against the rest of the league, disguised pressures, different looks, and attacking from different angles could pay off. It's not about abandoning the idea of a 4-man rush. It's about adding tools to the toolbox. The Chiefs blitzed at a top 6 rate last season and won the Super Bowl. The Eagles relied on a deep D-line rotation and 4-man rush to control. The line. There's more than one way to win on defense in today's NFL. And the Bills are starting to evolve. Finally, they're no longer just hoping their talent wins straight up. They're designing pressures. They're building versatility. And for a team that has repeatedly fallen just short in January, that shift could be the difference. We'll get into more on that defense, including the cornerback battle and what to expect from Tre'Davious White this season in just a moment. There's been a lot of buzz surrounding Tre'Davious White as we inch closer to the season, and honestly, it's one of the more underrated storylines on this entire roster. After everything he's been through, the injuries, the questions, the whispers about whether he could return to form, what we saw in camp this past week felt like a turning point. The quickness looked like it was back. The anticipation, the reads, the footwork, all of it felt like vintage Trey. And that's huge for this defense, especially considering the state of the cornerback room right now. Let's not forget Rasul. Douglas gave the team a big lift last season when he came over, but even then, there were signs of decline. His ball production wasn't what it had been in previous years. And more importantly, his athleticism just isn't where it needs to be to consistently handle top-tier receivers. You remember that comment he made after joining the team about leaning on Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer for instructions on every snap. That tells you everything. He was learning the defense on the fly, and yeah, he did a solid job. But fast forward to now, Hyde and Poyer aren't in the picture anymore. That security blanket is gone. And Rasul, still unsigned, reportedly turned down a starting job with the Dolphins. So now the Bills are looking to Tre'Davious White not just to start, but to anchor the outside. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. The NFL was rocked today by the official confirmation of a blockbuster trade. Star defensive end Myles Garrett is leaving the Cleveland Browns and joining the Buffalo Bills. After weeks of speculation, rumors, and fan debates, both franchises released statements confirming the move, setting the stage for a seismic shift in defensive power within the AFC. Garrett, known for his relentless pass rush and game-changing plays, brings a wealth of experience and a fearsome reputation to the Bills' already formidable defense. The move is viewed as a bold step by Buffalo, signaling their unwavering commitment to chasing a Super Bowl title. Sources close to the negotiations say the deal included high-value draft picks and a key defensive piece from the Bills' roster. The Browns, for their part, expressed gratitude for Garrett's years of service while highlighting their strategy to retool and build for sustained success. With this deal, Buffalo immediately positions itself as one of the most dangerous teams defensively, bolstering a unit that already featured standouts like Von Miller and Ed Oliver. The question now shifts to chemistry and execution. How well and how fast Garrett will integrate into the Bills system, and how this alters the AFC's balance of power going into the season. For the Buffalo Bills, this is more than just a trade. It's a statement of intent. By securing Myles Garrett, the team has acquired not only one of the most dominant pass rushers in the league, but also a player with leadership qualities and a deep hunger for postseason glory. Garrett's arrival is expected to energize the locker room and elevate expectations across the franchise. His career stats speak for themselves. Multiple Pro Bowl selections, double-digit sacks nearly every season, and a consistent ability to wreak havoc in the backfield. Analysts are already adjusting their preseason power rankings, with Buffalo gaining ground as a serious Super Bowl contender. Head coach Sean McDermott praised Garrett's work ethic and attitude, saying he's exactly the type of player who fits our culture and ambition. While Buffalo gave up significant assets to finalize the deal, team insiders suggest the front office believes the price is worth it, especially with the window for championship contention wide open. Garrett himself expressed excitement, stating his respect for the Bills' passionate fan base and his eagerness to contribute. As training camp heats up, the league will be watching closely to see how Buffalo's defense takes shape with its newest and most high-profile addition. The impact on the Cleveland Browns cannot be understated. Losing a franchise cornerstone like Myles Garrett is bound to create a ripple effect both on the field and in the locker room. For years, Garrett had been the face of the Browns' defense, a reliable force capable of altering the outcome of any game with a single play. His departure leaves a leadership void and puts additional pressure on younger defensive players to step up. Cleveland's front office defended the move by pointing to the long-term flexibility and draft capital gained in a trade. They've acquired key picks that could be used to target future stars or move up in upcoming drafts. Some fans have voiced frustration, arguing that the Browns are giving up too much in their prime years. Others see it as a necessary step toward reshaping the team's identity. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz now faces the enormous task of reorganizing a unit that had been built around Garrett's unique skill set. The team has vowed to stay competitive, and internal development will be crucial. For Cleveland, this is a crossroads moment, one that could either be the start of a successful rebuild or a step back from years of progress. From a league-wide perspective, this trade may set a new precedent for how top-tier defensive talent is valued and moved. Rarely does a player of Myles Garrett's caliber become available, and his departure from Cleveland to Buffalo underscores a growing willingness among franchises to make aggressive moves to win now. The Bills, already in the thick of championship contention discussions, have now made a calculated gamble that could pay enormous dividends. Meanwhile, other contenders in the AFC, like the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, and Cincinnati Bengals, must now adjust their offensive strategies to account for the additional threat posed by Garrett. His ability to collapse pockets, strip sack quarterbacks, and draw double teams could create opportunities for his teammates and significantly disrupt even the most efficient offenses. The AFC East, already a battleground with rising stars and veteran quarterbacks, just got even tougher. Media coverage has been relentless, with analysts breaking down every angle, from contract implications to film study on how Garrett will fit in the Bills' defensive schemes. This deal could also embolden other teams to explore similar big-name trades, reshaping rosters faster and more dramatically than ever before. The NFL's offseason arms race continues, and Buffalo may have just fired the loudest shot. Myles Garrett's transition to Buffalo also brings an intriguing cultural and emotional narrative. Leaving Cleveland, the team that drafted him first overall in 2017, is no small moment. Over 7 seasons, Garrett became a fan favorite and a local hero, deeply involved in community projects and a frequent voice in the team's leadership core. His shift to Buffalo now marks a new chapter, one filled with immense expectations and pressure to deliver results quickly. For Bills Mafia, the passionate and loyal fan base, Garrett represents a final piece to a defensive puzzle that has eluded postseason success in recent years. The excitement in Western New York is palpable, with jersey sales expected to spike and ticket demand rising ahead of the regular season. Garrett's ability to adapt, both on the field and within the community, will be tested as he enters this next phase of his career. Teammates and coaches have already welcomed him with open arms, seeing in him not just a dominant athlete, but a competitor with championship aspirations. The emotional weight of leaving Cleveland and the anticipation of success in Buffalo create a compelling backdrop. As the season approaches, all eyes will be on Garrett, who now carries the burden and the hope of an entire city. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.